Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Morhonda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown!
Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another
it!
one!
Oladipo!
Another one! Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three, and he hit it!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hey, hello everybody. Welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Thursday. Dustin Schutte from Saturday Tradition joins me as always. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Jim. How are you?
I cannot complain. Doesn't do me any good. Nobody wants to listen to it. Of course, coming off of a big loss for Indiana last night, and big as in all kinds of big ways. Big as in it probably cost them a shot at the NCAA tournament. But we will see. Stranger things have happened. I think that right now they're on the outside looking in. But that's that. You hate to bring it down to a game because there's many other games that would have made a difference. We can list a number of games. It all starts, and it does not all start with Northwestern either. It starts with Syracuse. It starts with Wisconsin. It starts with
Penn State.
Penn State, yes. Those are the games where it starts. Then you get to the suspensions and the Northwestern stuff, and you add that to that, and what boggles my mind is how close this team was to being a leader in the Big Ten Conference. It's crazy. It's crazy because they're not Big Ten Conference championship material, but yet they make a few less mistakes and they're right there. But that's why you see a team like Wisconsin that's going to win the Big Ten this year. That's not a team that would normally ever be able to win this league. They're just not good enough. But they are this year.
Well, I mean, they have it's a little bit of luck. It's a lot of bit of talent. Like when you're as good as they are, when you're as disciplined as they are, I mean, you kind of make your own luck. So they have incredible players. Like Chucky Hepburn is a really, really talented freshman. Johnny Davis is probably the Big Ten player of the year.
If you got somebody named Chucky and Johnny, I mean,
it's over. And then, Then you got Tyler Wall, who's good in the post. Brad Davison, who's the glue guy, the energy guy. I know a lot of people don't like him, but every team needs a Brad Davison type of player. And you know what's mind-boggling to me is how similar last season was to now what this season looks like. Indiana last year looked like a tournament team midway through the season. And then all of a sudden, at the end of the year, they just – they I don't know if I can say this, but they pissed it away basically last year. They're doing the same thing this year. And Jim, the thing that's got to be most frustrating for Indiana fans, these games look the exact same. They're losing them in the last 2 minutes every freaking time. Ohio State, Wisconsin, Rutgers, Penn State. I mean, you go on and on. They've had opportunities to close these opponents out, and they just can't do it. And this is what we saw basically the entire time under Archie Miller. So now you have to beat Purdue, and you have to win one game. Because I saw Mike DeCourcy's last night. His bracketology was Indiana's is in one of the last 4 teams in. Rutgers was one of the last 4 teams out. I'm assuming that's going to flip flop now.
Yes. Absolutely. And now you've got an Indiana team that has to go play at Purdue. That's not exactly going to help their standing.
And they're playing a Purdue team that's lost 2 straight. So, plus with them losing earlier in the season, they're going to have an agenda heading into that game.
And it's not as simple as, all right, you lose these 2 games and go to the Big Ten tournament and win 2 games. It's not going to work that way. Once they get pushed out, you win 1 game in the Big Ten tournament, that does not equal the loss to Rutgers. You win 2 games in the Big Ten tournament, that does not equal the loss to Rutgers and Purdue. They, in my opinion, if they lose to Purdue, they're going to have to win 3 games in the Big Ten tournament. 2 might get it done. 2 might get it done, but
I was going to say it probably depends on who they're playing in that second game, because the first game they're probably not going to play a team with the caliber to do much for the resume. But if they get, I haven't looked at what the updated bracket's going to look like, but if they get Purdue, if they get Ohio State, a top 25 team, that second win might be enough to squeak them in, depending on how a team like Michigan or Rutgers performs in the Big Ten tournament. So you never know. But again, what faith do you have that this team can beat anybody in the Big Ten right now? Now, we know that they should be able to beat a handful of these teams in the Big Ten, but the way they've played recently, the way they let big leads slip away against virtually every team they're playing, you can't be confident that they would beat anybody they're going to go up against.
Can't be confident that they could beat eggs.
I like that.
Jason asked, would like to know the number of games they led in the half. I can tell you this. In the Big Ten, of the 10 losses, 5 of them they had leads at the half. Ooh. So they led in half of their half of their losses. They had the halftime lead.
I'd like to know how many times they've had a lead in the last 2 minutes.
I guarantee you the last 4 minutes.
Yeah. But I think Wisconsin, they had a lead in 2 minutes. I know they did it against Ohio State. They obviously did last night against Rutgers. I'd have to go back and look, but.
How about that? 6 years, not only 6 straight losing seasons of the Big Ten. This is a 6th straight year without a trip to the NCAA tournament. Yes, they are recruiting very, very well. They do have the guys coming in. Great question here. Where was the All-American second half? Now, you can't blame this all on him. He has to get the ball.
He did get it.
And
on one of those last possessions, he was demanding the ball. And this is where, when you don't have a move, when you don't have a jump shot, when you can't use your offhand, that's where it bites you. He took 3 dribbles and kicked it out. And Indiana, I don't remember if they made a shot on the play or not. I can't remember. But he demanded the ball and then passed it up. And he wasn't being double teamed.
Because he can go one direction.
That's what I'm saying.
And they know that. But do you know how many points he had in the second half?
I don't. 4?
4 points. 4, I'm sorry. 4.
One of them was the mangled finger there, so I couldn't quite tell.
2 points came at the 19-minute mark off of a dunk. 1 minute into the half, he gets a dunk. He doesn't score again, I think, until like 4 minutes to go, and those were on 2 free throws.
Mm-hmm. Jeez. You can't have that.
13 first half points. And doesn't and scores 1 field goal in the second half. 1 field goal. And that is 1 minute into the half. And would not score another field goal the rest of the game.
I think that's not
I'm sorry, that's not an All-American.
No.
Because that's not the first time that's happened. And I'm not here to downgrade Trace Jackson Davis, but I'm just telling you the truth. That's not an All-American. That is a recurring theme.
It is
with him.
Can I tell you what else is a recurring theme? It's not necessarily a recurring theme, but what the hell was Mike Woodson doing when Rutgers called a timeout and Indiana raced down the floor, 3 seconds go off the clock, and he calls a timeout again? I mean, it ended up working out because Indiana missed the shot. I don't remember if they got the offensive rebound or it was out of bounds or what the call was. But it ended up working out because they got Parker Stewart that 3. But that was a waste of – they were out of timeouts at that point. Could you not have drawn a play up from the full – what did you do in that timeout?
You have to this – man, it's very ginger.
Because my point to that, Jim, is
I think the mistakes that have been made by this team –
you can call timeout and set up a defense, or you can do something.
I think that the mistakes by this team this season are equally shared, not just with the players, but with the coaching staff. Mike Woodson has made some mistakes. There's no question. Lots of mistakes. And some of it is just simply by not doing something. That was a mistake of not calling a timeout at the right time, not having a play ready. Not having this team ready, not having them skilled to the point of, hey, this is what we do at this time. You've just got to have those set things that you go to and that you are practiced at. They're not. It's like every time is a new adventure. It's like a brand new show that they've never seen before every time. It's a brand new episode. Hey, it's the end of the game and the game's on the line. What do we do? It's like the Keystone Cops comes out at that time. Bad reference there. No one knows who the hell the Keystone Cops are, but
no,
barely even I know who the Keystone Cops are when I say it.
The
Three Stooges comes out, or the clowns come out of the car. It's like.
Yeah,
it's that's exactly what the end of game IU offense is like. It's like the little car pulling up and all the clowns getting out and running around. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
You're like, what the hell? What the hell's going on?
You would think again that they would understand the situation, considering they're in that situation almost every game. I don't understand how they can be like deer in headlights. Ill-prepared. Deer in headlights every time. It's not like this. It's not like Indiana's played 3 or 4 close games and they let those slip away. This is a regular occurrence to the point where you should be comfortable with what you're doing. But there has to be zero plan, I guess. I don't know. It just looks very similar to what we saw the last couple of years. So that's not a good sign. And I understand that there's going to be some growing pains, and Mike Woodson's new at the college level. So maybe you'll see some changes in year 2, but man, oh man.
Here's what I don't get. He's surrounded by guys that are not new to the college level. Surrounded. All this big deal was made about Thad Matta, and you've got Dane. I don't know. Are they being listened to? I don't know what's going on there. No idea. I do know that Indiana is now 9th in the Big Ten standings at 9-10, likely to end up at 9-11. So they're likely to end up with a losing conference record. Their overall record at 18-12. That's not horrible to keep you out.
Right.
If you have the wins to get in. I don't know that they have enough wins to get in, but it's very possible because this is not against Michigan. This is not, they're not fighting Rutgers. They're fighting the other teams. They're fighting these other last 4 in teams. Right. So Indiana could get help. Indiana could get help without doing anything. Someone in front of them could lose and help Indiana move up, but it's this bracket analyst stuff, it's a strange business.
What's crazy is there was a time when Indiana was 7-4 in the Big Ten. Not that long
16
ago.
and 5 overall. They were 16 and 5 overall. 16 and 5, and since then,
Not good.
no.
Fell off a
16
cliff,
and
really.
5. They were 16 and 5. Now they're 18 and 11. So here you go. We've got to take a break. Plenty coming up on the show today. I think DJ is going to join us today. Also, I think we'll have Matt Taylor. Usually have Chris Denari as well. See what we can get to. Plenty more. Oh, and reaction from the usual suspects. Mike Woodson. I can't remember who the players were, but we'll hear from all that as well. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the great folks at Endeavor Hospitality, the people that are behind the great restaurants like Southern Stone, Feast Market and Cellar, Cabello, BB's Marketplace, which was the old wagon wheel. Cabello is in the former Grazi location. You've got the courtroom down in Bedford as well, and more on the way. Go get your My Wow Club card. You can go to any of your own online stores, whether it's Google or Apple, and get that for yourselves. You can lots of savings. It costs nothing, of course, but all these Bloomington for whenever you're here and around Bloomington, get you some great savings, and they are a great supporter of Value Athletics. The Get My Wow card. Hey, we're back with more on Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting Bloomington,
Jim,
Kevin
that comparison
Brockway,
with the clown car, I couldn't stop laughing in the background. I'm glad I wasn't on the air, but that got me for some reason.
I wish you would have been. That makes it funnier when you hear laughter in the background.
Matt's here, by the way. I just pulled him in.
Did he arrive in a clown car?
Matt, are you there?
Sounds like he's in a car.
He could be a clown car.
Beating something with a book.
He's trying to get out of the clown car.
Yeah. I'm not sure he can hear us. Oh, he hears Matt.
Hey, buddy.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm at the combine right now, so it's
okay.
It'll be decently loud.
You sound fine right now. All right.
Jim.
By the way, Jim, I have the you were referencing those clips. I've got 3 from Woodson and I've got 2 from Trace.
Oh boy.
One of the ones from Woody is your question. The other 2, one of them is about the seniors. One of them is about Ron Harper's shot. And then for Trace, one of them is about what Rutgers did on him in the second half that changed. And then also the Ron Harper shot is the second one. Gotta love us some Ron Harper.
I do love Ron Harper. I'm not going to lie.
Ronnie Harp playing the harp as he sings the Hoosiers to sleep with that shot.
I'm just thinking about the combine.
Excuse me.
And all of the Indiana football players that are probably there.
Yeah, all of them.
All 0 of them. Actually, that's probably Micah McFadden is probably there.
Oh. Monday. Wednesday. Hey, how about that?
What?
I'm coming up to Indiana March 24th through April 2nd.
Nice. Y'all can play some golf finally.
That's a great time of year because Indiana won't be playing basketball then. That's what
I was thinking.
The tournament's still going on.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was thinking. We could get in a round.
All right, here we go.
And plenty more. Simply go to thehoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also find full episodes of Indiana Sports Beat Radio on the homepage or on the station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday, brought to you by Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Joined now by the great Matt Taylor, the voice of the Indianapolis Colts. Sir, how are you live from the Combine? How's it going out there?
He just dropped, so we'll see if we can get him back.
All right, we'll get him back. Still in live from the Combine. Side note, he just dropped. I like that. Perfect. No, that's funny. Not exactly a side note, pretty much much important part.
Well, I had to interrupt. I didn't know how else to address it. I was like, well, he's not here.
Side note, guest is gone.
He's coming right back with us, but he dropped right as we were coming into the segments. I was like, man, I can't keep up now, but
man, that was funny. You there, Matt?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah. Matt is out at the Combine, so he's doing whatever he can to make sure he gets connection. How's it going out there, Matt?
Oh, it's good. It's definitely hustle and bustle, and it's a good refreshing, busy, if you will, after not having this event last year in 2021, and then just getting back to normal, right? I mean, it's good to have, for the team's sake, in-person interviews and the medicals all in one place again. Last year was just kind of a hodgepodge of having to go to pro days and relying on the medicals, from all these different angles. It's good to get it all, in a condensed one-stop shop, if you will, here at the Combine. And it's just good from a human element as well. You get to see some old faces, some friends from other teams, and folks in the media. It's just good to have it all kind of back. And downtown Indianapolis is buzzing. The Combine is like a big football convention, and it's definitely taken over Indianapolis, and it's just a fun 4 or 5 days here in the city. And the shame of it all is that the city does it so well, and that the Colts are involved in that as well, doing their part with making Lucas Oil Stadium available and outfitting it with everything that everybody needs to watch the Combine and to assess these players. And then downtown Indianapolis is just so perfect for an event like this because it's condensed. Everything is walkable. I mean, everything is within a 4 or 5 block radius of each other. So it's looking like the event's on the move potentially. We'll see if that comes to fruition, but looks like the NFL is going to move this event around like they're doing with the draft and market it and try to make an extra buck.
My first question is, what did you run the 40 in?
I ran the 40 in 12.795 seconds, which is a new personal record. I walk the 40. The 40-yard dash and my 5K time are eerily similar.
The new walk category. I forgot about that one. That's a new category.
Sign me up for walker this year.
Dustin.
That's pretty good. Matt, one of the things, covering this from the college perspective like I do, I think one of the most fun and interesting aspects about the Combine is, seeing some of these guys who come into the NFL draft and maybe don't have the draft stock, right? Like everybody's not going to get the attention of a Kayvon Thibodeau or an Aiden Hutchinson or somebody like that. The fun part to me is always seeing guys who, nobody really considers they might be a 6th or 7th round pick, or maybe they're going to be an undrafted free agent, but then they get the opportunity here to boost their draft stock. And I think it's a lot of fun to see some of these guys who maybe they don't play on a great team, or maybe they play in the MAC or the Sun Belt Conference, and they get a chance to show what they can do on kind of a national stage here. So to me, that's always one of the fun aspects of this whole event is seeing, certain guys are going to perform at a high level, but seeing some of those guys that you don't expect to see it from, that to me, it's a lot of fun. So to your point, like it's great to have this event back because I know that there were some guys who were hurt by not having this last year.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, like you're the only college football media guy that's not here. What the hell are you doing? Let's get a credential. Do you want me to send you the form, Dustin? What do we have to do to get you up here, pal?
Why are you not there, by the way? I mean, you cover all of the Big Ten. I'm kind of curious. I even saw Stefan Kreisnick, former IU, he's an IU graduate, but works down in Mississippi. He's up here just covering the Mississippi State guys, and you cover all the Big Ten. Why the hell are you not up here?
You know what? Next year, now I didn't even know. So next year I'll put in a credential request and I'll be there.
You've been shamed. We have shamed you into it.
No, but in all seriousness, the really screwed up part of it is just to give you a sense of how big of a deal this is in terms of, media spectacle and the coverage. Like there is probably 4 times as many credentialed media here as there are prospects, players that are invited to the combine. So needless to say, this is why the NFL is trying to capitalize on this, is because it's an event. It didn't used to be. I mean, Peter King, from NBC used to, always tells the story about, 1999, 2000, which was 20 years ago. I mean, it's not that long ago in the grand scheme of things. Peyton Manning is just sort of like backed up to the bar at the Crowne Plaza with 4 or 5 reporters around him. And that was the combine. That was the media access of the combine. And now it's, this huge thing that the NFL is trying to capitalize on and treat it like it's, more than really what it is, but give them the credit for their ability to do so. But at any rate, to your point, Dustin, yeah, I mean, the great thing about the combine and the draft process is that all of these guys, no matter where they come from, no matter what school they went to, they were either on great teams or not so good teams or whatever, but now they're all independent contractors, right? And they go from focusing on their team success to now their individual success, at least until they're drafted in April and May. And it's all about putting their best foot forward. And it's a grind. It's a process. And the combine's a big part of it. The pro day is a big part of it. What they're going to do, with the interviews and the medical, each team gets 60 15-minute interviews with players. And there's over 300 guys here. So most of the guys here at the combine have a great shot at getting drafted. And, obviously where you're drafted depends on, how much money you make and the career that you might have, depending on what team you're with. So there's no question that, these 4 or 5 days in Indianapolis going into their rookie seasons is a huge, launching pad for these guys as they turn pro. And it's a lot of, there's definitely a lot of stress. There's a lot of anxiety, but they know how much weight, this event has, and it's a really, really big deal.
Absolutely. I'm holding out. Maybe next year, I think I'll be in better shape, but I think I've got just a little bit. My window is still there, Matt. I think I'm still within the window.
You got that COVID year, Jim? Is that it? You got that COVID
That's
year?
It. Exactly. I'm holding back. I'm waiting for the right time when I see that maybe a break to jump in there. But no, and what is for yourself? What kind of responsibilities do you have during this?
Well, we're just
with the Colts and just overall.
Yeah, we're here on Radio Row, and it's Radio Row, but it's digital Row. I mean, there's a lot of people here doing what you guys are doing right now. They're having webcasts and podcasts, and they're streaming stuff, and they're gathering content. They're talking. Each team for the most part is here represented with their media personality folks and things like that. And, they're talking to their respective head coaches, talking to their respective general managers, getting a sense for where their team is here in the off season. They're talking to different prospects, hey, team A might need defensive ends help. So, they're talking to 4 or 5 different defensive ends to find out how these guys tick and things like that. So, it's just content overload, and it's going to be like that until Friday. It started Tuesday. And again, I give credit to the NFL. They've turned this really kind of a procedural event that's really more for like football operations, and turned it into a must-cover media event where each team's coach and GM, for the most part, they talk, they have a press conference. They talk about where their team's at. They give a glimpse on what they might be looking into when it comes to free agency, which, oh, by the way, starts in 2 weeks. I mean, that's what the NFL is, guys. I mean, it's never ending. I mean, as soon as the Super Bowl is over, you think, okay, football is going to disappear, but here comes the combine, here comes free agency, then it's the draft. So like it never really disappears. And, people love this stuff. I think there's a huge group of fans that are just as interested in this time of year, if not more, when it comes to, the business side of football, contracts and free agency and, draft picks. I mean, they just people are obsessed with roster building, roster construction, analytics, and things like that. So that's what the combine is all about from a content standpoint. That's what we're doing. We're doing interviews, we're doing podcasts, we're doing radio shows every single day this week here at the combine.
You know what, to me, has been as big of a growing ingredient for the NFL are the fantasy leagues, because to me, they are a big part of why all of these things you just mentioned, people care more about that, because they have a much more personal interest in their fantasy teams, etc., because it means more. And not that it doesn't to the casual or the general fan of their teams too, but back in the day, these guys had to get second jobs, man, in the off season. Now there's something going on just nonstop year round.
Well, I think you're exactly right. I think fantasy football has done that to a large degree, actually. And then also betting, listen, let's be honest with you. I mean, it's sort of changed or for some people, it's changed how they watch sports, consume sports, how they root for sports. I mean, some people watch games because they just want to see what the score is or what they need the score to be. They don't care who wins, but you can bet on, the over or the under. I mean, it's just crazy because there's so much involved in this. And so, yeah, from a fantasy angle, a lot of people are watching the combine to get a good feel of, hey, how does this guy from Alabama translate to the NFL? How does this wide receiver from Clemson, how does he forecast as a rookie playing for the Jacksonville Jaguars? Should I draft this guy on my fantasy team? Absolutely. There's a lot of, fringe fans that may or not have watched the games anyways, but now they play fantasy football. And so they're going to be watching NFL Red Zone or watching, that Sunday afternoon, 4:00 game on Fox, that marquee game, because they've got, Dak Prescott as their quarterback in fantasy football. So it doesn't matter to the NFL because it's just boom. That's another viewer. That's another thing they can track. That's another thing they can capitalize on. So it doesn't matter why you're watching. All the NFL cares about is that you're watching, period. And they can certainly market it and make money off of that viewership.
Man, I'm not going to ask about every team, but when it comes to the Colts, and one of the things I'm always interested in is every team enters the draft and enters the offseason with some needs. They got to address certain positions every single year. But my question to you is, if the Colts, let's say, need a defensive end, but they see a guy who's a safety, who's an up and comer, they think that guy's going to be a Hall of Famer someday. Do teams, in particular, do the Colts, do they prioritize that position group, or do they look more at the player? If you understand what I'm saying. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's both. And guys, I hate to do this, but I do have to beg off here real quick. I'm sorry. I got to go run and do a thing for Colts.com. So I do have to run. If you want me to hop back on here in about 10 minutes, I can absolutely do that, Jim. I really apologize.
Dude, buddy, go have it. Go and go do what you got to do. We appreciate you at the combine. Matt Taylor joining us. We'll catch up with you next week and see how it went, brother. Thank you, sir. Matt Taylor.
I'll talk to you next
week. Hey, not a problem. Matt Taylor joining us live from the NFL Combine in Indianapolis. And you know, Dustin, we should have done the show from there.
I was just going to say, neither one of us got credentialed for it.
Well, I'll be honest with you, because there's just been so much going on with Indiana basketball and covering all that, and it's gotten so busy here of late. I didn't think about it, and I'll be quite honest. I don't know that I would have wanted to run up to Indianapolis the morning after a late night basketball game with a post-game show. There's a lot that goes into all that stuff, man, and it's just not that easy. But next year we will plan it. We will be doing the show live from the Combine. So mark it down. You will be here next year.
I'll be up there. And then that'll bleed right into the Big Ten. Well, I don't know if the Big Ten tournament's in Indy next year. It's probably not. It's probably in Chicago.
Well, I don't know. Is the Combine going to be in Indy next year?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I think the Combine's always in Indianapolis.
It always has been. There has been talk of changing it. It always has been. It's a great location. It's a great location for everything they do. Like Matt just talked about, everything is within walking distance. People can get around. It has the hotel space. It's set up to do it because they've been doing it for a long time. Hopefully they don't lose it, especially before we get up there. That would be rather disappointing.
That would be. I remember when I worked up in Indiana, we'd always have I guess you could call it a convention that week. And we would stay in downtown Indianapolis. And then, by that Wednesday or Thursday, they'd kick us out because the guys for the Combine were coming in and taking all the hotel rooms. So it's always a spectacle, but I think that's part of it. I think that's a big reason, Jim. You don't have to worry about just close to me, let's say Atlanta. You don't have to worry about getting a cab and having to drive and sit in Atlanta traffic. You can get out of your hotel room and you can walk to Lucas Oil Stadium. I mean, just the convenience of everything, I think, makes it an ideal location. Plus, it's pretty centrally located. I'm not going to do the math or the distance, but it's not. You're not having guys from South Carolina fly all the way to Los Angeles or Las Vegas or something, or you're not having guys from Texas fly all the way up to Maine. So I'm sure it's a haul for some athletes, but at the same time, it is pretty centrally located. So it's to me, I think for those two reasons, it's a big hit in Indianapolis.
It's a gigantic hit. Speaking of hits, let's take a break and come back and continue this party here at Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Brought to you by our good friends at Andy Moore Honda Bloomington. Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. They're #1. Why? They've got the best deals. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
An Evansville tradition.
All right. I don't know if I told you before, but Derek Jackson is going to do 9:30. That's his segment today. So
well, you said that he might be. Oh, okay, this is 9:10 segment open, which is perfectly fine.
Excuse me. Whew.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised that you're not up covering all of the Big Ten players, dude.
Oh gosh.
You're glad you're not.
No, well, I would like to get some of those stories, but I don't know. I didn't even to be honest with you, I've never even thought about it. Like it's because my mind is in basketball season and off-season mode that it doesn't even register like, oh, I could get credentialed for this.
Me too. I'm like, God, I got to be here, and I got to be here, and I got to be here, and I got to do this. They got this show. I'm like, gee whiz.
But that is, if it's in Indianapolis next year, I will look at that because that would be a good opportunity for us.
Well, it has been every year.
Our columnist is going up for the Big Ten tournament, and then I'm going to go up, like I said, the 24th through the 2nd.
Why are you coming up the 24th through the 2nd?
Just to visit family.
Oh, March through April?
And then go to a Pacers game probably.
Remind me and I'll make sure I'll get tickets and go.
If it's nice out, we better play golf one day.
I played 7 holes yesterday.
Do you play by yourself?
That's a loaded question.
No, I'm okay. I'm debating.
I will. I do. I mean, if I want to go out, yeah.
I'm debating on getting a tea time, but I really don't like playing by myself.
Why? That's the best time. You can
okay,
go out and work on some stuff.
If it's not packed, the problem is down. Like I was telling John, in Georgia, it's so popular that you go out by yourself, you're going to get paired with other people. And then I usually shank like 3 in a row into the woods, and then they get pissed at me. Not usually.
Have you ever played that old rundown Twilight golf course in Jeffersonville?
No, but I've heard about it.
I think it's been redone, but I used to live right behind that golf course.
Is it Jeffersonville or Sellersburg?
It's right on the edge of both. It's technically Jeffersonville, but about 5 minutes down the road is Sellersburg.
See, when I lived in Indiana, there was a place in Lafayette that was about a 15-minute drive from me. You could play Twilight for $25. They wouldn't pair you up with anybody. And in that time, yes, I would play by myself once a week. I didn't care. But here, I'm not interested in getting paired up. So I'm debating.
All right. 10 seconds.
Number one Honda dealer. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by K-Bello. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday, brought to you by the great folks at K-Bello Restaurant, a part of the My Wow Network Club, but K-Bello located on the square in Bloomington in the former Grazie location. Incredible Italian fare. No question there. Last night, Indiana loses to Rutgers 66-63. Parker Stewart hits a big 3 to tie it, and they let Ron Harper Jr. come right down and pretty much have an open shot.
And you captured it all with your phone.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I knew it was going to happen. Because to me, that encapsulated Indiana's season. You finally do something good, but you let this happen right behind it.
By the way, okay, you go back to that Ohio State game when Xavier Johnson was walking the ball up the floor. Did you see? I mean, there was no sense of urgency. Ron Harper was like, "Yeah, I'm going to get my shot." If you put pressure on the ball, make him make a move. He didn't have to do anything. He just pulled up. He trotted down the floor like he was at the YMCA.
I've seen Indiana get beat on defense, get beat back on defense so many times this year. It is ridiculous. Ridiculous. Especially after a big basket. Get all swelled up. Get all swelled. Okay. I got to get that roar out. I saw them get beat so many times, get beat back on defense this year. It was maddening. If I was a coach, I would be just ripping stuff apart because there's no excuse for that. None whatsoever. But Indiana just cannot get it done last night. Trace Jackson Davis all but not appearing in the second half. Let me see. Let me get these. First half, Trace Jackson Davis, 8 field goals. He hit 6 of them. Went to the free throw line. Had 4 opportunities. Hit 3 of those. 15 points. He's your leading scorer. At that point, Xavier Johnson had 3 points, had put up 3 field goals. Miller Kopp was already 1 of 6 by halftime. Parker Stewart was 0 of 2. So there you go. There is 1 of, what did I say, 5? There's 1 of 7 between Kopp and Stewart in the first half alone. Indiana was 2 of, that's first half. 2 of 11 behind the 3-point line in the first half. That's just the first half. No. Now and then you look over. I look over at Rutgers. Geo Baker had a total of 6 points at the half. Ron Harper Jr. had 5 at the half. 5 points. They had limited him to 4 shots. He'd only been able to take 4 shots, 1 3-pointer. Had not gotten to the free throw line. He moved to the second half. Ron Harper Jr. scores 14 points in the second half. He gets 8 field goals or attempts, hitting 5 of them. 7 3-point attempts. He's able to get off 7. This is the second half. And he hits 4 of them. On the other side of the ledger, Xavier Johnson had 10 points. He was 4 of 8. He had 2 turnovers and half, 2 assists. You can't say a lot bad about him. Miller Kopp, a whopping 2 points in the second half. Trace Jackson Davis, here's the biggie. 4 whopping points. You know how many shots he attempted in the second half?
No idea.
3. He got the ball off 3 times. I wonder how much of that came at the end, because I know he has a dunk at the 19-minute mark when he first comes in. I don't think he touched the ball or he got another shot again until towards the end of the game. Do you know how many shots, second half shots, Race Thompson got? 4. Exactly. Between the 2 of them,
they got 7 shots.
They had opportunities. That's the only attempts. They only get 7 attempts in the second half versus the first half, 11. But they were 2 of 3, 6 of 8. They were killing them. They were scoring at such a high level, at a high clip.
And this is the problem. You have to be able to go into your quote unquote all-American player. He has to demand the ball. He has to find ways to score. And again, this isn't a one-game situation. What is the difference? I would like to see the statistics, and I'm sure the numbers are out there. What's the difference in Trace Jackson Davis' scoring in the first half compared to the second? I mean, I would think it would be significant, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I would.
Maybe it just seems that way. Maybe not. I don't know. But when teams make adjustments, there's no answer.
Well, part of it is because Trace Jackson Davis is he has 1 game.
Right.
Go to his left, and if he can get to his left, either put up a shot or dunk the ball.
But why does that work in the first half and not that? Like, these teams have been scouting.
You're a lot looser. You're a lot looser. You're kind of seeing what your opponent is doing. Are they force feeding the ball inside? Well, what's Indiana did? So Rutgers makes an adjustment to not allow them to force feed the ball inside, or they allow Indiana to make their own adjustment where they stop doing it on their own. But they played him a lot tougher in the second half. But you got to play tougher. You have to work harder to get the damn ball and to get the shot off. But you've got to be able to go to your right as well as your left. You've got to be able to hit a 10-foot up jump or hit a 10-foot elbow. You know who has a nice – I was thinking this last night watching him in pregame warmups. Didn't help him right now, but Logan Duncombe, nice little elbow jumper from just off the free throw line, just smooth. He's gonna be a guy. He's gonna have that shot. He's gonna be a big that can step out and hit a 15-foot jump shot. I truly believe that, and it's gonna make a difference.
See, this is where the analytics kind of really bug me, and the math and the nerd stuff, because that's a lost art, is being able to pull up.
Nerd?
Yeah, I'm calling you a nerd. Is the ability to pull up from the free throw line and knock down a jump shot. You're either stepping out behind the 3, and I know it's like the lowest percentage shot. It's whatever.
That's basic basketball.
But it to me it is. If you can knock down that shot, then you're a threat to hit it. Then they have to guard you at all levels. It's so frustrating to me to watch guys drive 1,000 miles an hour to the basket and pick up a charge or miss a layup or turn it over. And again, I understand that you get the least points per play on that shot. It's the lowest percent, whatever. But Rick Mount made a living hitting that jump shot.
A lot of people made livings hitting jump shots. That's a lost art.
That's true.
Lost art. Biggest game for everyone on this team. Not everyone has been to the biggest.
No one.
Yeah. No one on this team's ever been to the tourney. No. If they can't perform in that game at home, forget about winning a game in the BTT. It won't come to that. Sid, haven't seen Sid for a while. Ifs and buts, so tiring. This team has no heart, no leadership. That's an understated fact. I've talked about this. Xavier Johnson it looks like he's tried here of late in the last couple of games of the season to take him on to his shoulder, but it just never worked. But Trace Jackson Davis, now I will lay the blame at his feet for this. You're a third-year guy. You're an All-American who's considering going to the NBA draft, and you're not this freaking team's leader. You don't put this team on your back when the games are on the line, and you're going to the NBA because you're ready for that. You're ready for the next level. I disagree with that. How the hell are you going to be ready for the next level when you're not consistently being a leading force at this level? It's so inconsistent. It's against teams that allow him to do the things that he's able to do. The ones that don't, he doesn't get it done. And so do you think it's going to be easier in the NBA?
Not if you I mean, the problem is as we talk, you have to be able to shoot in the NBA. You have to be able to knock down a jump shot. You can't play around the basket. First of all, he doesn't have the size to play around the basket, even if that was still a thing. So he's got to develop a jump shot. I mean, it's not that if he gets the right coaching, maybe he can. But again, this is the same player as a freshman 3 years later. That's not good. I mean, I think he's still a good player, but you have to be able to work on the things and improve your game. Imagine if he's able to, step out and knock down a shot from the free throw line. Then teams have to, they have to defend him different ways. Then he can demand the ball. But he's afraid. I don't want to say he's afraid, but it looks like he's afraid to take those shots in those clutch moments.
We got to take a break, but we got so many comments I want to get to, and we'll do that. Let's see. I think DJ's coming up next. But we've got plenty more comments to get to on the Andy Moore Honda hotline. We will do that. Plenty more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends from Endeavor Hospitality. Don't forget Southern Stone Restaurant, whether it's Feast, Market and Cellar, Great Wines and Cheese, Cabello, new Italian restaurant in the El Grazie location on the square. BB's Marketplace is the former Wagon Wheel. It's a big restaurant. Plus they have custom meats, really, really good meats. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore Honda. That stupid Cabello logo
it's
sucks.
Black, yeah.
Ass.
I noticed. I was like, why does he not see it? But it's because I
couldn't see shit. I kept looking up there, going as my cue, and I'm like, "There's nothing up there." I was going to say, "Damn it, John! There's nothing up there. Why don't you have a logo up there?" And then I finally saw the damn thing.
Haven't heard from DJ, so it wouldn't surprise me if we don't hear from him today. But if he does, he does.
We got plenty to talk about. Don't worry.
Yeah, we definitely do.
I don't think even DJ's enthusiasm can melt.
Dustin, have you ever been on with DJ before?
No.
I don't think his enthusiasm can melt the cold these Indiana basketball fans today.
Excuse me.
I mean, I really, when Archie Miller was here, I had no problem blaming the coach because he sucked ass, and I'll say that on the air. But there's too much fucking coaching talent there right now. Thad Matta is there. Oh, I don't even have to list them. Everybody knows who's there. Why? Is it being is someone not being listened to? There are just questions that I would love to ask that won't be answered. That's the thing.
Well, they might be at the end of the season.
There's a lot of players, because they were Archie players, have not adjusted to the coaching staff as well as they.
I don't know. I don't agree with that, because if I'm the coach,
then why do you have four guys in the middle of the season breaking curfew in a crucial road game?
You have that.
You heard Dean Garrett say last night, we didn't have a curfew. You know why?
That was odd.
They didn't need a fucking curfew. They knew better.
That's what I'm saying. We live in a different generation where players need that kind of stuff, and they weren't listening to that.
Wasn't it John Chaney at Temple years ago? He held like 5 or 6 a.m. practices, and they asked him the same thing, something about a curfew. He said, "I don't need a curfew. I can tell when we have a 5 a.m. practice who's been out till 2 in the morning."
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know that. But that was funny when Dean said, we didn't even have a curfew. We got the hotel, baby. It was just over. But see, that's a difference. They were focused on what they were doing.
All right, here we go.
Great tough housing market.
That would have been a great clip.
From Remax Advanced Realty.
I can look for it.
IndyHomePros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com.
This segment is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. It is Thursday. Jim Coyle with you, as always. Dustin Schutte from Saturday Tradition here at Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're going to hear from Mike Woodson, Trace Jackson Davis, and I want to hear from Dean Garrett. Brought up a good point. We're talking about breaking curfew at Northwestern, and on the postgame show last night, he was curfew because we didn't have a damn curfew. We didn't need a curfew. We got to the hotel. That was it. Because it didn't matter if it was Evanston but it just dawned on me. Do you know why? 2 reasons. A, I'll give you 3 reasons. A, they were playing for Bob Knight. Enough said. B, they were playing for Bob Knight. Enough said. But C, and probably most importantly, they were focused on winning and the job at hand. They were focused on what they were there to do, and going out was not in that mindset. It was not in that thought process because it didn't have a damn thing to do with what they were there to accomplish. It did not have a thing to do with why they were there. And that's how their minds operated. These kids are not focused on winning. Obviously, they're not focused on doing what they need to do because we've seen them do the same BS in the games, breaking curfew, that kind of crap. That's not focused, especially a team that is not, if this was a team that had been so successful, you could say, oh, well, they got all, big headed. No, you sucked. You haven't done jack. So you need to be uber focused. And they look like one of the, be honest with you, potentially least focused teams in the Big Ten.
In those final 2 minutes, they do.
Oh, in every game.
Right. But I don't think it's
it's not focused, it's unprepared. And I'm sick and tired of hearing that they don't know how to win. That's the biggest bunch of, I don't know if you can say bull on the air, but that's the biggest bunch of bull crap I've ever heard.
Butter.
Bull butter it's bull butter. I don't want to hear you don't know how to win. Bull crap.
Right.
You just keep doing what the hell was working the whole freaking game.
Right.
That's all you do. It has nothing to do with knowing how to win. How about you know how to do what you've been doing? Period. You knew how to do it 15 minutes ago. You forgot?
Right. And for those, I mean, to me, the thing about that I've seen hitting on that point is, I talked about this last week, so I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record, but again, you did it against Ohio State. You did it against Purdue. You found ways to win. That is no longer an excuse. It's not, you're not going to win every game. You're going to lose some of those close games. That's how college basketball is. You're not going to win all of those games. But there's no reason this team shouldn't be at least 500 in those games, especially against Rutgers, especially against Penn State. They should have. I don't know how you blow a 22-point lead against Wisconsin. Wisconsin's really good. But if you get up by 22 points, you have to win that game.
Exactly. So, I listed yesterday. I said, all right, they have 9 losses. I'm not going to go through every loss and say, well, that this, that. I can, because I don't have to. I easily picked out 4 games
right.
that should have gone the other way. And there are more, but the 2 Rutgers games are 2 of them. You cannot have a effing 22-point lead anywhere and lose. You had them beat home. You had a lead and you lost again. Penn State early on just shouldn't have lost that game. That was a weak-minded team right there. That's what lost that game. And then the killer is the Northwestern game. Still should have won that with your B team, even though all the stuff that happened. Now that's just 4 games out of 10 they've currently lost. And I promise you, there are many others within that 10 that were easily winnable. As a matter of fact, the only game that wasn't to me was the Michigan game. They just thoroughly got beat. Got their ass handed to them off after a big emotional win over Purdue. And now if you take those stupid 4 wins, I noticed yesterday, Indiana, that puts them in the top 3 of the damn conference.
Right.
Which is ludicrous to think about because this is not a team worthy of that. But that is how easy it would have been had they just done some simple things.
Well, the other one I'd throw in there too, Michigan and Illinois. Those are probably the 2 games that Indiana, I mean, they did not play well against Illinois, but Illinois is a good team. You're going to have those throughout the course of the season. You're just going to have games where you don't play well, but to be in this many games, to have chances to win, to close it out, to make a tournament push, and to not be, again, this is exactly what happened last year.
Let's hear from Dean Garrett. Last night, he joined us on the Indiana Basketball After the Game show and talking about the fact that, that Northwestern situation, how that started, but that it's still – he was surprised to hear that they had a curfew. Let's hear what Dean had to say.
It was really painful this season watching them lose some of the games that they lost. The Northwestern game, that is going to haunt them. It still continues to haunt them. That Northwestern game, and with the suspensions or not, they still should have won the game, but the suspensions were just really bad.
Oh, 100%. They should have won that game. I can't even imagine with the guys who broke the curfew and what they're going through and knowing that's on their back and everybody knowing what they did. I couldn't even imagine that. But first of all, I couldn't even imagine having a curfew because we didn't have a curfew. I mean, we got to Chicago. We were right to the room, and that was it.
I was going to say, you didn't need a curfew, did you?
No, I didn't need a curfew. We didn't have a curfew. So, so the fact that they even have a curfew, I mean, kudos to them, but yeah, that never happened to our team because we weren't getting a curfew. We got to Northwestern, we got to Evanston or wherever that is. We were in the hotel. It was no like, I'll see you in a couple hours, I'm gonna go out. It was nothing like that.
It just makes me laugh. He's like, curfew? He's kudos to them.
Yeah.
Oh, that was just hilarious, man. That just shows you the mindset. It's just the mindset.
Right.
It was not even a freaking consideration. Not even a consideration. And you had five guys, and let's just be honest. That's half of the core of your team.
Right. Yeah, that's why I'm saying when you talk about needing a leader, that's where Trace Jackson Davis and Race Thompson are supposed to step up. And I think that down the stretch, you could make the argument that there's not a lot of trust. Xavier Johnson might be trying to take over that leadership role. At the same time, how much faith are his teammates putting in him, knowing he's the one that, I mean, not him simply, but he's one of the ones that put his team in a bad spot in that Northwestern game. How much trust do you have in him? And again, I'm not saying guys can't make mistakes, but this wasn't an early season game against Eastern Michigan where you're doing this. We're fighting for a chance to go to the Big Ten. We're trying to get a double bye. At the time, they're trying to get a double bye. At the time, they're trying to get into the NCAA tournament, which they're still doing. But again, I think that had a lasting effect. And I'm not making an excuse, but I'm saying how many of those guys on that team are following Xavier Johnson's lead? I'm not saying he can't be a leader, but when you do something like that, I mean, these guys have never been to the tournament. They want to. This is a great comment.
Says Trace Jackson Davis is always talking about raising the confidence of his teammates, but where is his confidence at the end of games?
Correct.
He should be absolutely screaming for the ball, and just doing what he does. I know that they were really working more on double teams in the second half. But guess what? Anticipate that, because there's only 10 guys on the court. And if you've got 2 guys on you, somebody somewhere is open.
Right.
But you have to be prepared for that. And it's like they play a first half where they don't get double teamed. Oh, that's cool. In the second half, all of a sudden they got double teams. Oh, well, what do we do? It's the first time I've seen a double team all season. No, it's not. Be prepared. Use that to your advantage. If you're not going to score, great. Be a diversion. Get the ball, kick the ball to somebody else inside. Do whatever. But you also have to point out the fact that Indiana sucked horribly from the outside last night. Yeah. Had they just hit shots, we're not having this conversation.
Right.
It's not Rutgers did what they needed to do. They made an adjustment on the interior of Indiana, and all Indiana had to do, though, was knock down shots. They couldn't do it. My God.
It's
6 of 21 from behind the arc. 6 of 21. I mean, that's just horrible. And why are you taking that many shots of when you're shooting so poorly instead of running the offense that it works successfully?
I don't understand. This is one thing where the game has gotten that I don't understand. I don't know why at some point, like, why do teams settle for, if it's a tie game, why are teams settling for 3-pointers? Why? I mean, if you get the open look, I understand. If it's an open shot.
If you've got a guy that's like a free throw to, I've got no problem.
Right, correct.
Indiana does not have that guy.
Right.
It's not Parker Stewart. I don't care what anybody says. He 2 of 9 last night. Mm-hmm. It's not him. It's not him. Anybody. It's not Miller Kopp. Miller Kopp, 1 of 5 behind the 3-point line. So there's one. They were 3 of 14 Those two. There's your starters right there, starting shooters. 3 of 14.
That's a problem.
Yes, that's a loss. That's a loss right there. You want to put your loss somewhere? There it is for me. The inability for Indiana to simply hit freaking jump shots. Open jump shots. Parker Stewart had a wide open 3 at the end of the game that would have put Indiana up before I think they got to stop and came back down and hit that. And yeah, because Parker Stewart missed the 3, comes back, gets the 3. But if he hits both of those, game changer.
No, that was the same possession, wasn't it?
Was it? It could have been.
He missed the shot, and I don't know what happened, but Indiana got the ball back, ran the play out of.
I thought they were two different. I thought they were 2 different possessions.
I think it was the same possession.
Because he had an opportunity to put him up with a 3, and
that might have been it, but it wasn't. It wasn't down that like the final 20 seconds or whatever it was.
It's just shooting. It's shooting, man. Shooting. It's shooting, Schutte.
It is. And by the way, Rutgers did a lot of dumb things themselves down the stretch of that game that should have cost them, but Indiana couldn't make them pay.
Nope. They had 13 turnovers versus 9 for Indiana. Indiana still did a good job with that, only 3 in the first half. And then they had 4 in the first 5 minutes of the second half. So again, coming out in halves, you open up halves by giving up whatever you have, and then you end the half by giving up. Indiana only succeeds at the beginning of games up until about 18 minutes, maybe the first 17 minutes of a game. That last 3 minutes of a half, they suck. The first 5 minutes of the second half, they suck. The last 4 minutes of the second half, they suck. Guess what? They suck at the absolute worst times in a game to suck, to not play well. And it's true. I guarantee you, go back and look at the numbers where they give up leads. They allow teams to go on runs at the end of halves and at the beginning of the second half. It's like a bad nightmare with that team.
You know what? Here's what's interesting about what you just said. I guarantee if you didn't give a scoreboard or if you did not tell Steve Peichel what the score was based on that first half, I guarantee you if you would have said, okay, you just watched that first half, you're only down 7, he would say that's exactly where we want to be. Indiana has to take – when other teams are playing that poorly, you have to be able to make that a 16-point lead. And then put the foot on the throat. Go full throttle. It's like they ease off, like, okay, we got a 15-point lead here. We're going to coast for a little bit. They've done this so many times that they've had opportunities to put teams away. And I know every team's going to make a run, but it's like I don't get it. They've had chances to put teams away and really put the pressure on, and they can't do it.
They don't know how to do it.
This isn't just the last 3 minutes either, by the way. You can end a game at the 10-minute mark of the second half.
Let's just be honest. You've got a group of riffraff. And I don't mean that these people or players personally are riffraff. It's not what I'm saying. I just meant they're a group of vagabonds. You've got some guys from Indiana that are not vagabonds that were here, but then you've got Xavier Johnson, Parker Stewart, Miller Kopp. All these faces are vagabonds. They're different schools. Mm-hmm. There's no connection. There's no. I just don't. There's no way that the Archie Miller group really bonded with the new group. I just don't see it. They were here longer. They've gone through different battles. They've gone through different things together.
Okay. Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I understand that, but excuse me, to counter that point, Look at what Mel Tucker did. I know this is
no, I'm not saying it shouldn't have happened.
Right.
I just don't think that it has happened.
To me, that comes back to coaching. And again, I know Mike Woods is doing this, but again, you look at the number of recruits that Michigan State brought in on the football side. You look at the number of guys they added through the transfer portal, and they made it work. And they were able to go from 2-5 in 2020 to 11-2. Now, I'm not saying Indiana needs to make that kind of leap, but again, if you mentioned the 3 to 4 games that you mentioned, if you're just able to beat Syracuse, Penn State, hang on against Wisconsin, those 3 alone, you're in the tournament, no questions asked. No questions asked in the tournament.
How many times have you heard Mike Woodson say, well, I'm new at this, and then say something? A lot this year.
I haven't followed the press conferences as closely, so.
Well, like last night with the NCAA tournament. Well, I'm new to all this. As someone asked about it, they still thought Indiana was in. Well, I'm new to. I think that's not. Stop saying that.
Right.
You're surrounded. Yeah, stop saying that.
Yep.
That you're new to this, but you're surrounded by guys like Mata and Dane and all these guys that aren't. So just defer to them and get the information. And don't say I'm new to this and deliver the information. My point. We got to take a break. We're going to talk about something, maybe more positive, but it will be just because Chris Denari will be with us. He joins us next here on Indiana Sports Beat. We're back with more right after this. Brittle's Family Dentistry, Sellersburg, Indiana. Don't forget them. With that championship smile, go see Dr. J. We're back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting Bloomington.
Good morning, Mr. Denari.
What's up, gentlemen? How are you?
I'm
good,
great,
man. Coming off of a Pacers win.
I was doing the game last night, and during timeouts, I would check on that IU score. And, I had checked and they were up 10 and I thought all was good. And then the next thing I knew, I checked and they were down.
You checked and they were up by 10. But the big question, was there 3 minutes or less left in the game? If there was, then all bets are off.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
I was watching. Had both games going last night. When the Pacers got down 18, admittedly, I was like, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
And then I popped up, I brought up ESPN and saw like the 8-minute mark. It was down to 8 or 10 points. And of course, I'm a glutton for punishment. So I turned the game back on. But fortunately, that was the right decision.
Yeah. No, it was good to see them come back. I mean, I think as we move forward, I like watching the Brogdon-Halliburton pairing. I mean, if you look at the 3 games they've played together, the only game they've lost is Oklahoma City. And now, granted, I know Oklahoma City's not that good, but then Oklahoma City last night goes to Denver and wins. So, yeah, I mean, it's I was just glad to see him come back. I mean, they've only won 4 games now when trailing by 10 or more. And that was the biggest deficit they'd come back from all year.
Yeah, that was good because the first 3 quarters, I can't remember a sloppier game. I'm sure it's out there, but my God, it was like watching a pinball machine.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty sloppy, and it was even sloppy on their end. Now, they started playing bad, Brett. You're right. I mean, it's like too many guys have been at Disney World for the day or something. Disney World. But
Chris Duarte wasn't. Buddy Hield apparently went to Universal. I learned that on the broadcast last night.
Yeah, he went to Universal. Duarte and his girlfriend and kids were in Disney. If we would have been traveling, I have a buddy that lives up in the Villages. I would have gone up there to play golf. But
dude, that place is not even a community. It's like a city.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I've never been there.
Funny story. I actually applied to a job there once for a sports writer, so you can cover like their league golf championships. They have I think it's called pickleball.
Oh, yeah.
15 seconds.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
For years to come. Brinker's Jewelers provides free evaluations, top prices, and immediate payment in a relaxed atmosphere. Visit our showroom today at the corner of Green River Road and the Lloyd Expressway.
This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you here on this Thursday. Dustin Schutte from Saturday Tradition with me as always. And now we're joined by our good friend Chris Denari from the Indiana Pacers as he joins us each Thursday. Coming off of a big win for the blue and yellow.
Yeah, needed to get a win. With all these new guys, I think it's as important to learn how to win together. And while you beat Orlando, they're not a very good team. I mean, the Pacers don't have a good record either. I thought it was significant that they rallied from an 18-point deficit. It was an entertaining game, especially in the second half. I saw on Twitter last night, Bill Simmons mentioned that he was watching the Pacers-Orlando game and said it was highly entertaining. I mean, now we know he's an NBA junkie, right? He watches all kinds of NBA basketball. But, especially in that fourth quarter, I thought the Pacers did a really good job. They were 4 for 22 from three-point range through the first three quarters. And this had been a team since the trade, getting Buddy Hield and Tyrese Halliburton. They'd been the third best three-point shooting team in the NBA. So you wondered, would things turn? Well, they did. Fourth quarter overtime, they hit 8 of 15. And so all in all, a good night to get a win for these guys in the second game of a road trip.
And they've been winning off and on. I mean, they beat the Wizards. You have a tough loss to the Thunder, but then you beat the Pacers. You lose to Orlando, but then you beat them the next night or the next game. So this team has by no means are they tanking or not trying. You can tell. I mean, they're winning, going back and forth.
Well, you Dustin, we talked last week and then the impressive win Sunday against the Celtics. Yep. I mean, that's a team that had won 9 straight at one point, 11 of 12. I thought the Pacers defense that night was really strong. And again, we were able to see, Dustin, and I want your comments on this from watching from afar, that combination of Brogdon and Halliburton. It's two guys that both can handle the ball. They both can play off the ball. They can both score. And I think when you have a backcourt like that either one is capable of doing what they can do, I think that makes you a better team.
And I think, Chris, from this perspective, you talk about this a lot, in that Malcolm Brogdon is like this, he's very level-headed across the board. You couldn't tell if he's up 20 in the middle of a tight game or down 20. Tyrese Halliburton is not that way. I mean, he's a guy that every time he hits a shot, it seems like he's smiling at the other end of the floor. And so I think just from that chemistry, you need that kind of balance. It's not, for me, it's not particularly fun to watch 5 guys who are just kind of out there, going through not going through the motions, but don't show that kind of emotion. Tyrese Halliburton, I mean, he's screaming. I go back to that Boston game when O'Shea Brissett gets a shot at the bucket and gets an and one, and he's down there on the floor flexing and screaming, and he's got Tyrese Halliburton as his guy, right, pumping him up. So I think for me, having that kind of energy, even more so than just having what that combination of Halliburton and Brogdon can do in the backcourt, I think that's a really important thing that the Pacers have been missing through the first 60 games of the season.
Yeah, I think you have to have a mix of players, right? You can't have all Lance Stevensons and you can't have all Malcolm Brogdons, and I'm talking about personalities, and I think you hit on it. One of Malcolm's great strengths and why when he's available that he's been so good for the Pacers is he calms everybody down, because there are times that you've got to calm down. But there are times that you need that TJ McConnell energy. You need that Lance energy. And so I think that's where the combination, again, we're only 3 games in. We've only seen Halliburton and Brogdon together 3 times. But when we've seen it be pretty good.
And going back to last night, we talked before we came back live, through three quarters, that was a sloppy game. Orlando was just able to hit a lot of shots and got an 18-point lead. But I was impressed after you lose a couple nights ago, you bounce back. Jalen Smith gets tossed out. Then he goes for 15 points and 15 rebounds. Malcolm Brogdon doesn't play. He gets 31, and he's arguably the most important player, or he was the most important player in that fourth quarter. Tyrese Halliburton hit some big shots. I was just impressed with the team's resolve in that fourth quarter because things weren't going their way. They had a tough loss on Monday night. To bounce back, to see some of these guys kind of take ownership and say, we're not just going to roll over twice in Orlando. Again, that's something that, through the first 60 games, at times this team was just not fun to watch. And there's been a shift. And it was just impressive to see what they were able to do after what I would say 7 bad quarters of basketball to make it click in that final quarter against Orlando and get a win. I was just impressed with how they did that.
Well, Dustin, I think, and to take nothing away from the guys that were traded, all quality guys. We know how good a player Domantas Sabonis is, Holiday, Lamb, Torrey Craig. But this team needed a change, and they got the change. And oftentimes change precipitates good things happening. And I think as I've talked to fans, and I try to do that when I'm at Gainbridge Fieldhouse and people that I run into, there is a renewed sense of energy. And that's good for the short term, and you want it to carry over for the long term. It sets the table for a summer that you should be able to add a couple of more young pieces, and you've got the opportunity out in free agency to do some things. And then, oh, by the way, you look at these players that you have, Buddy Hield, Halliburton. The biggest story is going to be Jalen Smith. This guy was not guaranteed his third year on his contract with Phoenix. So that ultimately makes him a free agent because the Pacers can only pay him so much. And you're hopeful that maybe it's an acknowledgement from Jalen and his agents that, hey, this is a great place for me. I'm going to do this for another year, and then maybe I can sign a longer-term deal. I don't know all the ramifications on how all the salaries work and those types of things, but it's clear to me that Jalen Smith can play. He's not done it in just one game. He's scored in double figures in 7 of the 8 games he's played for the Pacers. He's now had 3 double-doubles. He probably would have had a double-double on Monday night if he wouldn't have gotten ejected. This guy is a talented young player. You saw him, Jim saw him. A lot of people saw him in the Big Ten when he played at Maryland. This is a guy that is young and has a huge upside. And I think that's the thing that you're looking at this Pacers team now is they have huge upsides. And I think that's the problem where the Pacers were maybe a little bit before is you didn't know what the upside was, right? And it's hard to move forward when you feel like you've maybe hit a ceiling with a group. This team has a huge upside, and I think that's the most exciting thing that we're dealing with right now.
And kind of on that same level, to me, nobody wants to be out of the playoff race. Everybody wants to get there. But I think one of the advantages, especially now when you're kind of in this, I know it's not technically a rebuilding, but I call it a rebuilding situation for the Pacers. These last 20 games, you kind of go out and play, right? Like there's no pressure. You just see what you can do. And I think that then sets the tone for what, as you said, what you can go do in the offseason, what you're looking for in the draft, what you're looking for in free agency. And then, again, what Rick Carlisle maybe wants to tweak to the offense and the defensive side of the ball. I don't look at this as the final 20 games. Like I look at it as what kind of momentum can the Pacers carry? What do they know that they need to get? And I don't know that you get that if you're in this playoff race where you're playing kind of tense and every possession matters. To me, you can go out and play, and if you win by 50, awesome. If you lose by 50, it's not like it has a huge ramification at this point in the year.
Well, let's go back to 2 years ago in the bubble. Phoenix won all 8 games. Mm-hmm. They were not a playoff team. They were very far away from being a playoff team. But that set the table for their run last year, set the table for where they are now. Now, they also added Chris Paul. We know how important he has been. But it gave meaningful repetitions to DeAndre Ayton, to Devin Booker, to all of their young players, Mikal Bridges, all those players that were developing, those 8 games were very important, and they had success. So I think that's why you said, Dustin, these games are still important. Even though you're out of the playoff hunt, this helps a team come together and allows the coaching staff and the front office to see what they have, to see the positives and the negatives. So that's why I always challenge people. Every game is important. And that's why, last night being able to come back and win with that group, you can't overstate how important that is for a group as they're trying to grow. Because when you continue to lose and you get knocked down, then that's really what you're feeling. I don't know how many more games the Pacers can win in the final 18 or so. I mean, I think they can be very competitive, and I think they can win games. But I think it's very important to have that mindset as you're going out for these final games of the year.
They kind of remind me an opposite of the Indiana Hoosiers right now, where they are fighting, struggling, and winning. And they have this core group where next year, because of what they've been able to get through these trades and all that, they're going to have some new faces, new pieces to add to bolster this team. But they're still fighting and scrapping to the end. Whereas we see what happens to IU, and they're going to have new faces next year. They're going to have a lot of new faces next year as well. But it seems like the Pacers have integrated their new pieces very, very well, that they have come together very well and come together as a team, which that's why Wisconsin is going to win the Big Ten. They're not, from a personnel standpoint, I bet you they're not the 4th best team in the league. Maybe 5th. I don't even know. But they're going to win the Big Ten because they're playing together collectively like the Pacers are right now, even though they're outmanned.
Well, I always said this, and you guys know my affiliation with Butler. I was the 17-year voice of Butler basketball and left in 2006 when I got the Pacers job. So I was around as they were building it. I was around when Brad Stevens was an assistant. Oftentimes we would say Butler would lose warmups every night. If you sat at center court and watched both teams go through the layup line and all the drills, you'd go, well, Butler, they don't have a chance in this game. And then they'd win by 15. So a lot of times it's how you put all the pieces together. It's not just that individual player. We all know at the NBA level, at some point, though, you need really good players to take you to the next level. But again, I just look at what's happened over the course of the last couple of years. Last year, Chicago and Cleveland both won 20 games. They're playoff teams this year. New York and Atlanta were the number 4 and 5 seeds. They're number 10 and number 12 this year. Movement happens, and we'll just have to wait and see. But I like what I've seen. Still a ways to go. You are what your record is, and I know that. The Pacers are 20 games under 500. But again, these final 18 games are going to be important for the future, short-term, long-term of this franchise.
Can I make a prediction right now? Mentioning of Butler, and I wish no ill will to Laval Jordan. Their next coach, I predict to be Michael Lewis.
Wow, I mean, he's got ties. I mean, he was an assistant with Brad. I mean, I'm such a fan of Laval. I mean, I think I've told you guys.
I know I hate this. That's why I hated to say. I'm like, I'm not trying to push him out. But, sometimes the writing's on the wall.
Yeah, I mean, Laval, it's been a tough year. It's been tough to watch, under 500. They played a lot of close games. I've known Laval since he was a high school senior when he was recruited from Albion, Michigan, back in the late 90s. So there's nobody I want to have more success than Laval Jordan. And, you're always hopeful. Maybe they go on some type of Georgetown run that they had last year in the Big East tournament. But this is a fascinating time of basketball. I mean, March is such a great month. At Gainbridge Fieldhouse, guys, we're going through a stretch of 49 games in 34 days. It started with a Pacers game last Friday, the Girls State Finals, Big Ten women, Big Ten men, NCAA tournament, high school boys finals, and then a Pacers game as well. So it's a fantastic time in Indiana. A lot of great basketball. My team, the Wabash Little Giants, are in the Division III tournament for the first time in 24 years. I went to the game last Saturday when they beat the College of Worcester. They've won 20 straight. That broke our record from 1982. We had won 19 straight on our way to a national championship game. You've got the NAIA National Championship coming up. I mean, this is a great time of year for the game of basketball.
It is. It's the greatest time of year, period, for me in sports. I mean, the NCAA tournament in and of itself is just a crown jewel. And I think this could be one of the more surprising years in a long time, because last night at I got into this pool, $10, get 5 picks. Who wins the national championship?
Yeah,
buddy. I'm like, okay. I said, all right, I'm gonna throw 5 down, but I'm like, yeah, I can throw 10 down. And generally, it's not that way. Generally, you're like, oh man, Duke is up here, or Kentucky, or whoever. There are good teams, but there are just I love the parity, man. I love the parity.
Well, let me tell you, when you talk about how great this month is, 22 years ago, 2000, I'm at the Dome for the national championship game, and I am working the Michigan State locker room after they win the national championship, right? They beat Florida. I'm on a plane about 8 hours later after watching a great national championship game to Augusta for a practice round at the Masters. So that's where you said it, Jim. You're talking about March, that you've got all this basketball, and it leads into, to me, the greatest golf tournament there is. And 22 years ago, I said it was one of the best 48 hours of sports that I've ever had. National championship game for the basketball, practice round at the Masters.
I just want to say
that you can go from that, from the end of April to the Masters in April, and not very long, a few weeks later, you get the opening of oh my God, down in Lexington, the track,
Kentucky Derby,
Keeneland. Yeah. But then you have the Kentucky Derby, right, the first Saturday in May. So all within 6 weeks, you have the end of the NCAA tournament, the Masters, the Kentucky Derby, and then the Indianapolis 500.
Right. No, it's great. You got the NFL draft, you got the NBA playoffs, and unfortunately, right now we won't have baseball. That's a whole other story, right?
That's what I should have been my first question. Who's the worst commissioner?
Is that a bad thing? Is that a bad thing anymore? He is the absolute worst of the worst in the history of the worst.
I don't know how you can stand up there when you're canceling a season with a smile on your face. Like, that's just such a slap in the face to the fans. But
yeah, I mean, I'm disappointed, because that's sort of the rite of spring, right? You turn the corner in March. Opening day is just a few weeks away. You hear the birds and all that kind of stuff. And again, I've been a longtime Reds fan. Grew up in southwestern Ohio. Went to games at Crosley Field, Riverfront, Synergy, whatever they called it, before Great American Ballpark. But yeah, that's disappointing. I mean, when you think about spring, it all goes hand in hand, and right now it's not going to be the same. I know there are probably a lot of people out there that don't care about baseball, but it's one of those sports that I grew up with, and I played as a kid. My kids played. So we'll just have to wait and see. But hey, we have basketball, a lot of basketball to talk about here in the month of March.
And on to that point, I have a general NBA question for you, Chris, because I like this and I wish the NBA would do it more. What the Pacers just did, back-to-back in Orlando. I understand why maybe you don't do that with some of your division. Chicago's not a far trip, Detroit, Cleveland. But when the league does these West Coast trips, the Pacers will play 5 or 6 games out on the West Coast, and it makes sense to do that. I mean, is this something the league is looking into? Because I understand maybe it's not great for the fans, but from a business perspective and in terms of traveling, it seems to make more sense to, give players an opportunity to have a game, not have to move around, have a day where they get to enjoy the city or practice, whatever it might be, and then play that other game. Then you don't have to go back to that city. I mean, is that something the league is thinking about, or not really?
No, I think so.
Before you answer, I don't understand how they can't look at this purely from a freaking cost standpoint.
Yeah.
You go from city to city to city, new hotels. It's the money has to double or triple of what it would cost to do it. How Dustin is talking.
Well, they did it last year because of COVID.
Right.
And they did it a lot. This is the only time the Pacers have done it. My only thing is I think it has to be done equitably. I don't think you can have one team play 4 of these and another team doesn't play any of these, because
right.
I do think it's tough on that home team to try to win 2 in a row at home. But I get it. If you look back at the Pacers road trip back in January, they played the Clippers and the Lakers in back-to-back games. And that was smart. I think they're trying to do it in New York, where you go to New York and you play back-to-back games, or maybe a Monday and a Wednesday against the Knicks and the Nets. I do agree. I think it's less wear and tear on travel. It's a cost savings. And I do think that's something that the NBA is looking at. They were forced to do it last year because of COVID. This year, they've done it a little bit, but not nearly as much as they did it last year. And I do think it will be something that they will look at in the future, because one of the things is you're also dealing with arena availability. It was much easier last year because there were no concerts, right? I mean, basically all of these arenas were dead other than the games that were being played because there were no artists out on the road. Now, all of a sudden, and I'm happy, you've got all these concerts back on the schedule. So that really creates some dilemmas for the schedule makers, because you don't have as many open dates as you had a year ago.
Yeah, I agree. I'm surprised, though, that they haven't looked at it. It's not 82 schedule, of course, is not the 162 games that Major League Baseball plays, but Major League Baseball will end up playing 3 and 4 game series at a time, which, of course, I just can't imagine, especially during league play, that's just not done. If you're going to play a team twice or 3 times at their place, get it out of the damn way. Just play those 3 games.
Well, what doesn't make sense is when you go on a 5-game road trip and you play a game in Sacramento, and then you fly to San Antonio, and then you fly to Utah, and then you fly to Portland, and then you're back in Houston. Those are the things I think that's everybody looks at and wonders why. Again, there are a lot of factors, arena availability, all those kinds of things. But I do think there are more and more people at the league level looking at all of those opportunities for easier scheduling. Can you do some of these 2-game series on a more regular basis? I think we'll see that happen in the future.
What's up next for you, brother?
Game tomorrow. Games, still, basically a game every other day. We're in the studio tomorrow for the game in Detroit, in the studio on Sunday for Washington, home game on Tuesday. And then the Pacers don't play until Saturday or Sunday. Again, the Big Ten men's tournament will be at Gainbridge Fieldhouse next week. So for all of us that have all these games, and we'll do about 80 games this year, when you get a couple of days off between games, to have days off between Tuesday and Saturday, that's pretty welcoming right now. So looking forward to that next week. But again, games tomorrow, Sunday, and Tuesday for the Pacers.
Looking forward to it, man. As always, appreciate you. As the season progresses, soon you're going to be one of our only conduits to live basketball.
Well, yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. We've got conference tournament week next week, so we know Purdue's going to be there. It feels like Notre Dame will be there, right? I know the ACC's not that strong, but what are they, second?
They'll be in. They'll be in.
Yeah, they'll be.
Absolutely.
And now we just have to see what Indiana does.
Absolutely. We certainly will. And we'll be checking back in with you to see how the Pacers are doing as well.
All right.
Cannot thank you enough as always, brother. Have a good rest of your week and a weekend and a great game coming up.
All right. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Dustin. See you next week.
The voice of the Indiana Pacers, Chris Denari, joins us here on Indiana Sports Beat, brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Great wines and cheese. Just what you need, Dustin. Some wine and cheese pairing, man. We're back with more. What, when you were 6?
Little cheese with that wine, right?
Here you go. Exactly. Hey, we're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting Bloomington.
Damn it. I'm going to apply for a credential right now to see what happens.
For what?
The combine. You laugh at me.
No, I'm just wondering what you're going to do with it.
Use it. Go up there and do the show. Do the show from there.
Well,
they have a radio
You're
run.
not going to have me tomorrow. You'll have your boy Will.
Oh, tomorrow's Friday.
It is.
Damn. Yeah, I'd still go up there for a day. Man, is he ready to do stuff right?
He didn't do it incorrectly the first couple times.
Oh, I meant, you know what I meant.
Yeah, I'm going to inform him on the extra things he needs to do, and I'm going to send him all that extra stuff too.
Yeah, we're going to have everything we need.
To be weird, I've never been away from the show for more than, I guess if you include weekends, 3 days, and I'm going to be gone from it for tomorrow, the weekend, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. It's going to.
Why you got to say that, man?
Because it's weird.
What are you doing?
All it does is nothing.
Because KSR is going to the SEC tournament next week. And I have to be back in studio while their producer's down in wherever their tournament is with them.
And nobody cares.
Tampa?
I think it is in Tampa this year, actually.
I think it's a weird location. I don't even know.
Usually it's either Nashville or like Atlanta, but I think you're right. I think it's in Tampa this year, oddly enough.
Doesn't make any sense, but whatever.
Like they don't even have a true basketball arena. They play in the hockey arena for the Lightning.
Right.
In Nashville?
No, Tampa.
Nashville has a basketball, or no, they don't. That's Memphis.
Well, I guess you're right, because when they play in Nashville, they play in Bridgestone, which is also a hockey arena.
Yep. Smashville,
yeah. When I was WKU, there was a lot of, what are they, Predators fans. And man, coming from somebody or from an area that has no knowledge of hockey and then going to that, it's very odd.
Yep. It is 100%. I went to school at Manchester near Fort Wayne, and I mean, that hockey's big there, but you got Detroit, you've got I don't know if the Columbus Blue Jackets were an organization back then, but
Louisville had a minor league hockey team years ago, and they were called the River Frogs.
Yeah, and guess what? I about cut my damn thumb off shooting highlights there one night for the TV station because the old tripods they were very heavy.
Seconds.
And you had to lift it up, so you had to do this thing and lift this up, and then you had to screw it back down, though.
I remember that.
Hey, here we come.
Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Thursday, brought to you by the Courtroom down in Bedford. Great place to stop in and watch a game, have a meal. Better someplace that sounds like a great place for you, the Courtroom.
I'm up to illegal activity.
No, I'll leave that on your own, man. If you're doing the illegal stuff. What was I just saying in the break? What was I talking about?
We're talking about camera work.
Cutting your thumb. He was talking about there used to be a minor league hockey team in Louisville, which was very well followed. I mean, people got into it for a non-hockey area. I remember being a sports anchor. I had there was no introduction to hockey. We just didn't have it where I was growing up. It wasn't around the area. The NHL had not expanded. Columbus didn't have a team. There weren't those teams in Florida. The Whalers were still in Hartford. All of that stuff. And then I have an anchor job, sports anchor job out in Washington State. And this town had a damn minor league hockey team, like 16, 17-year-old kids. And they went nuts for this team. It was like the biggest draw in town. So I had to cover that. But all I knew was this. You cut a highlight. He shoots. He scores. That's it.
That's all.
He crosses the blue line. He shoots. He scores. That's all I knew.
There was down here in Georgia, there was a hockey team that's now defunct. It was a minor league team. They were the Macon Whoopie in the city of Macon.
Oh,
Macon Whoopie.
You got to be kidding me. Oh,
that's an all-time. God. That's an all-time minor league team.
That's an all-time team name. Period. I did not hear that, but I would give anything for a hat or a T-shirt from that team.
Maybe someplace has them. I don't know.
Dude, you need to check into this. If that's not taken, we need to start selling those. Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding.
That's the greatest name I've ever heard in sports. Period.
And then you got in Savannah, you have this Savannah Bananas. They are
that's nothing. Now that doesn't come close to Macon Whoopie, baby.
Macon Whoopie is I think they only played for, I don't even know if they made it 10 years, to be honest with you. They were in the 90s and maybe into the 2000s, but it did not last very long. Shocking that hockey didn't last long in Georgia.
So you tell me it petered out?
That's what I'm telling you.
Yeah, sometimes that happens.
It does.
Especially after 10 years, man. 10 years. I mean, I'm serious. Those shirts would sell like freaking hotcakes. Macon Whoopie, that's the greatest name in the history of sports.
I think that they're
close. I don't think there's anybody there's even a close second. I'm sure there is, but I haven't heard. But damn it,
that's good.
That's good. Far and away the greatest I've ever heard. Instantaneously takes the number one spot. That is, I'm going to be consumed with that. And look, I want to find out about the trademark.
I've got a list right now. It's the top 8 silliest names in minor league baseball.
I don't think this is silly, baby. Macon Whoopie is awesome, but is Macon Whoopie on it?
I don't think that's a baseball team.
No, they were hockey.
Oh,
so this would be baseball.
And none of these really come close, but we have the El Paso Chihuahuas, the Richmond Flying Squirrels, the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, the Pensacola Blue Wahoos, the New Hampshire Fisher Cats, the Portland Sea Dogs, the Albuquerque Isotopes. I don't even know what an isotope is. That's
a damn scientific thing. That's like taking science class.
You don't
talk about isotopes.
You don't know? Isn't it an ode to the atomic bomb or something?
I don't know.
I just make that up. I studied history,
about the
but I did
New
not
Orleans
retain any
baby
history.
cakes in reference to Fat Tuesday?
Well, that's
pretty clever.
There's a lot of clever ones, but none as good as the Macon Whoopie. There's no good play on words.
Macon Whoopie is hilarious and clever. You can't top that.
It's the greatest of all time. I'm going to stamp it as the greatest sports team name of all time. Isotopes, each of 2 or more forms of the same element that contain equal numbers of protons, but different number of neutrons in their nuclei, and hence
why in the world would you
different
make
in
that
relative
your team
atomic mass, not in chemical properties in particular, a radioactive form of an element. Some elements have only one isotope. That could possibly be the dumbest name in the history of sports. the isotopes, unless they're next to some chemistry factory.
They might be.
Where the hell were they? Who was this?
Albuquerque.
Sorry, got rid of it. Yeah, Albuquerque. It was near Albuquerque.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to get back to these comments.
We're done.
We're wrapping up the show.
Oh, my God. This is not even fair. Holy smokes. I thought we had more time. I'm not done. We've had too much fun. This is crazy. I can't believe
That's how it goes on Thursdays.
We've got a minute left. That is nuts. Anytime you're on, it's always a party, but it's a great day because we always have a great lineup. You got Chris Denari, you got Matt Taylor. Usually have Kyle Nedrip, had him on yesterday. Hey, that means sectional basketball back tomorrow. Of course, we'll be talking about that tomorrow morning. So wow, get a night off. It's unbelievable. I don't have to go cover a game. That's going to be nice. Buddy, I hope you have a great day. Can't thank you enough. Look forward to you coming up soon, and we will make those plans.
Get on the golf course, get to a Pacers game. It'll be fun.
Hey, make sure you get out, go to your app site, whether it's Apple or Google, and get your My Wow card. Sign up for that. It just gives you free stuff. You build up points and all that. Several places in and around Bloomington. Even if you're not here, if you're coming or if you're not, get it anyway. It makes us look good. It didn't cost you a thing. We appreciate you. You can go to mywownetwork.com or just, like I said, go into your app store. Hey, man, it's been a great day as always and fun, but it would not be anything without you all. You are the reason we're here. Thank you so much. Thanks to John, the producer. Thanks to everybody else. Until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana